Alrighty, here we go. If the season ended today, April 7th, after the first 2/3 of the seasons has officially finished up or wrapped up, we are now in the back third of the season. Who is going to kind of solidify their greatness? Who's going to solidify their team and kind of get ready for that playoff run that is coming up? So if the season ended today, we're going to go through who would win right now and who, so we can kind of get a good picture of what should happen here in the last third, who needs to step up, who we should be keeping an eye on, and who we should be watching out for. So if the season ended today, we've got the brackets up here. We are going to have to kind of determine the play-in tournaments. We are also going to do that. So we have the first 6 teams filled out here in the East and the West. This is the East so far, and this is the West. So here we go. Let's just kind of bring up the standings so far in the East. 76ers are back at the number 1 seed. Nets are at the 2. Bucks at the 3. Hawks at 4. Hornets at 5. Yikes. Heat at 6. Knicks at 7. Celtics at 8. Pacers at 9. And the Bulls at 10. Love that Bulls at 10 there. All right, and then in the West, we got the Jazz at 1. Suns at 2. Clippers at 3. Nuggets at 4. Lakers at 5. Blazers at 6. Mavericks at 7. Grizzlies at 8. Spurs at 9, Warriors at 10. Alrighty, so before we start kind of going into the regular kind of format of, the playoffs that we're all used to, number 1 through 8, 1 playing 8, 2 playing 7, all that, we have to determine the winners of the play-in tournament. Now, a little refresher on the play-in tournament. So 1 through 6 in each conference are guaranteed to make the playoffs. 7, 8, 9, 10 are all up for those last remaining 2 seeds. So the play-in tournament is the 7th and 8th seed play each other. Winner of that one game gets the 7th seed. Then the 9 and 10 play each other. The winner of the 9 and 10 play the loser of the 7 and 8, and then the winner of that game gets that 8th seed. So if you're the 7th or 8th seed, you have 2 chances to secure your spot in the playoffs. If you're the 9 or 10th seed, you only have 1 chance to secure your spot in the playoffs. So let's start here in the East and play out this play-in tournament. So right now, the 7th seed in the East is the Knicks, and the 8th seed is the Celtics. So they would play each other, and I would say the Celtics win that game hands down. I mean, they're going to be at full strength here. They brought in Evan Fournier. That's fantastic. He's really giving them the depth that they desperately need. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can get it done, and who's their big? Robert Williams, he's actually kind of getting it done here in the starting lineup. Losing, Daniel Tice, Tristan Thompson can still come off the bench, or maybe even Tristan Thompson resumes his starting role when he kind of gets back healthy. But either way, they're going to have the depth at the nice shooting position with Evan Fournier and either Robert Williams or Tristan Thompson coming off the bench. So, and they also have Moritz Wagner, which they haven't really been utilizing too much, so he's still a little bit of a question mark, but still could get it done for the Celtics. And then for this Knicks team, I mean, all the starters and all the bench need to get it done on a consistent basis, and we really haven't seen that from them really since kind of that 1 week stretch where they were winning a lot of games and they were in the media. They've really fallen off ever since the trade deadline, honestly, and there's really showing us nothing consistent. Their playmakers, their stars are not all getting it done, and the bench has been a little bit lackluster. RJ Barrett and Julius Randle can get it done on a nightly basis, but then there's nothing else solid about that team. Manuel Quickley, Obi Toppin, Derrick Rose really just kind of hit and miss out there off the bench. So I'm going to take the Celtics. They win the 7-8 matchup, so they do claim the 7th seed in the West. So let's put them in here at number 7. Alrighty, and then we've got to finish out who's going to get this 8th seed here. So here we go. The 9 and 10 play each other. Pacers, Bulls, and yes, sir, I'm going with the Bulls here over the Pacers. Love what this Bulls team is after the trade deadline and after they've got all the kinks worked out. Using Thaddeus Young at the 4 is fantastic. He's getting it done. Vucevic, he's returning to his old shape here like he did with the Magic. He floundered a little bit slightly in the first couple of games since the trade deadline been since he got there in Chicago, but now they're winning games, 3-game winning streak, no problem. Zach LaVine's getting it done. Kobe White's getting it done off the bench as well to kind of provide some scoring output for that bench. So I've got the Bulls over the Pacers. Pacers don't kind of threaten me at all. Karis LeVert, he's kind of taking over the prime scoring position, and that's really like nobody else can step up scoring wise because Karis LeVert's kind of commanding the ball a little bit too much. Sabonis is barely putting up like 15 plus points a game because Karis LeVert's there, and we're getting no solid scoring production besides anybody else over Karis LeVert. So I thought Karis LeVert was going to help this team, but I think it's hurting them a little bit. So we'll have Bulls beating the Pacers, and then for the A seed, it would come down to the Knicks and the Bulls, and I'm taking the Bulls, folks. I'm taking proven talent. I've got a great starting roster topped down by this Bulls team compared to just kind of two good players by the Knicks. So we'll have the Bulls securing that 8th seed here in the West in our tournament so far. Alrighty, so the final seeding of the Eastern bracket, in our opinion, is going to be the 76ers at 1, the Nets at 2, the Bucks at 3, the Hawks at 4, the Hornets at 5, the Heat at 6, and the Celtics at 7, and the Bulls getting into that 8th seed. Alrighty, let's go over the entire East, and then we'll do the entire West. So here we go. Let's start here with the East. Here we go. All right, so the first round matchup would be 1 76ers versus the 8 Bulls. Now, I love this Bulls team, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about the 76ers. And with Joel Embiid healthy, this roster is almost the most complete starting roster that there is, man. Ben Simmons, playing great defense, getting at least 10 plus points. That's all he needs. Just being efficient out there, not, overshooting, because they got Tobias Harris for the scoring department. They got Danny Green for the scoring department, and they got Seth Curry if all those other scoring departments fail of Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Danny Green. So Seth Curry can get it done. So they've got the big down low. They've got the shooter Tobias Harris that can really play anywhere on the floor. They've got the the dangerous catch and shooter of Danny Green. He's really been stepping it up these last kind of 2 weeks here. Has really been getting it done efficiently. So hopefully he can kind of get it done in the playoffs as well. And then Ben Simmons is just a pure defender out there, the facilitator of the floor if needed. And then also off the bench, we get Dwight Howard, who however few minutes he plays, he's going to get at least 8-9 rebounds, no problem there. And then you also, if you need another scorer, you got Shake Milton off the bench who can provide, 10 plus points off the bench. So really love this 76ers team. I think the Bulls maybe get one game, but at the end of the day, the 76ers, I think, win 4-1 over the Bulls. It's just the 76ers are a little bit overall better in the starting roster. I love Thaddeus Young, and I love Jokic, and I love Zach LaVine, but really everything else by this Bulls roster doesn't really do anything, nothing really great. They do have Kobe White off the bench, who is a little hit and miss still, but is finding it better to be on the bench than in the starting rotation. He's a little more efficient off the bench, but at the end of the day, it's the 76ers, it's Joel Embiid, he locks up everybody. 76ers win at 4-1. Alrighty, then let's go to the 4-5 matchup, the Hornets and the Hawks, and this is going to be a blowout 4-0. Truly unfortunate. The Hornets, they lost LaMelo Ball, they lost Malik Monk, they just lost Gordon Hayward, and that Gordon Hayward is the one that really broke the camel's back there. They were decently winning out without LaMelo Ball. Devontae Graham was kind of stepping it up pretty well out there, and then they lost Malik Monk, so their bench scoring got a little bit less, and then Gordon Hayward, that definitely broke their back. Now they're not deep anymore. Their starting roster is a little shaky. So, this Hawks team with Lou Williams getting it done, winning every single game that Lou Williams has been there. So, if the Hawks have to face the Hornets, that's fantastic for the Hawks because that's kind of a free pass there. And I will just see that I don't even know if this Hornets team is going to make it at the end of the day just because I think they're going to start losing a lot of games. They really built up that great playoff positioning with LaMelo Ball, and ever since all these players are getting injured. Now, LaMelo Ball could make an appearance at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, is he going to be right back? Is he going to be back where he left off? How's the rotation? How's the chemistry still with the starting lineup? So with all that being said, Clint Capella, Trae Young, get it done, and then you still got Lou Williams. So Hawks have a nice 4-0 sweep here over the Hornets. All right, let's go to the Bucks and the Heat now. 3-6 matchup. This just happened last year in the bubble, and the Heat won it. Now, what has really changed here from the Bucks last season? Nothing too much. Drew Holiday's playing absolutely fantastic. Chris Middleton is starting to step it up when Giannis isn't in the starting lineup. I do like what they're doing with Thanasis. I would like to see him get a little bit more play out there off the bench when Giannis is in the starting rotation, but this one's going to be interesting. This one probably goes 7. The Heat with Victor Oladipo, if they can get kind of him worked out a little bit better than what he's doing, Jimmy Butler and Goran Dragic really carry the load. We've been seeing Duncan Robinson really kind of getting it done consistently from the 3, putting up like 15 plus points on efficient 3-point shooting. And same thing with Tyler Hero. These last kind of week and a half for Tyler Hero, he's really been getting it done off the bench, like 15 plus points, efficient as heck from the 3 as well, just like Duncan Robinson. And that's really all they're missing, is just kind of that consistent scoring from 3. So if they had that with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, you've got the great sustainability of Jimmy Butler, the facilitator of Jimmy Butler, the efficiency of Jimmy Butler, the leadership of Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo. I think they can rival this Bucks team, man, and it is going to be really close, and I think it does go 7. At the end of the day, can Giannis finally get it done? Can this entire Bucks team get it done? Their bench, this Bucks bench is nothing great. They don't really have that much great scoring potential off the bench. Do I have them up really quickly? Just kind of reference. Let's bring them up real quick. All right, here we go. Off the bench, I mean, Pat Connaughton's pretty good. PJ Tucker's probably the best, but he's been out for this last kind of week and a half stretch, so hopefully he can stay healthy. Bobby Portis can potentially get you some kind of 10-point production off the bench, so they've got decent bench, but I think the overall shooting power of this Heat team can beat this Bucks team. This is tough, man. 3-6 matchup. Does history repeat itself with the Heat? I think it does. I mean, at the end of the day, Bam Adebayo, he's no scrub. Now, Giannis is clearly better, and so Bam Adebayo is definitely going to have to work for it down low, but at the end of the day, the 3-point shooting beats the Bucks, and I don't know if the Bucks are able to kind of, in a 7-game series, keep up shooting, outside shooting with the Heat. So, this Heat team at full capacity, folks, if everybody's healthy, Jimmy Butler, missed the first half of the season with COVID, so that's why they kind of got down in the power rankings, but ever since him and Goran Dragic have been consistently playing, they really win the game. So I'm going to call the upset here. Heat win in 7, 4-3 over the Bucks. All right, then that brings us to the Nets and the Celtics, and man, oh man, the Celtics team is good. This is probably the best the Celtics have been all season long after the trade deadline. No more Daniel Tice, unfortunate, but I mean, he wasn't bringing anything great to this team. Having Evan Fournier, that's what the Celtics team needed. Another great shooter. They're very lackluster off the bench. Evan Fournier is really their only good bench player. When Tristan Thompson's healthy, that would be the second best player, but besides those two pieces, they have nothing coming off the bench. Marcus Smart is really kind of iffy in the threes. He's more out there as a defender. Kemba Walker is a little kind of, spotty. He's never really clutch, and he really can't close out games, but he'll get you the 20-plus points. However it comes, 2 of 9 from 3, 47% overall from the field. He'll get you the 20 points. It's really going to come down to how well is Jason Tatum going to play. Jason Tatum in this series is going to have to drop 32-plus points every single game, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If he doesn't kind of be the main scorer for the Celtics consistently, they're not even going to be able to compete with this Nets team of James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. So Celtics, they may be able to win a first round, but they're not going to do it against this Nets team. So they may be able to take one, but Nets win 4-1 over the Heat or over the Celtics. All right, now let's talk about second round. 76ers and the Hawks now. All right, this is going to be a great matchup here. Clint Capella versus Joel Embiid. Clint Capella should have decent success, not too much success, but should be able to handle it on some occasions down low. The 3-point shooting for the Hawks is definitely going to need to be there. over Danny Green. At the end of the day, I think this one's probably going to go 6 or 7, but I think I'm going to go with the 76ers here. I love this new kind of Hawks team. Lou Williams definitely kind of puts them at true playoff contenders, and the Hawks are able to kind of challenge the 76ers in the series, no doubt, but I think the 76ers here, just a little bit overall a more consistent team. I think they have a little bit more better defenders. That Tobias Harris being absolutely consistent here. We're going to need John Collins to really step it up consistently for the Hawks if they want a chance of going deep in this kind of playoff tournament. I don't know if he can do that. They're definitely going to have to rely on Lou Williams a lot here. Definitely Trae Young's going to have to be consistent game in, game out. We can really rely on Clint Capella, but at the end of the day, I think the 76ers are a little bit deeper than the Hawks, and that's going to put them over the edge. So we'll have the 76ers win in 7-4-3 over the Hawks. Then we go to the Heat and the Nets, and I mean, I like this Heat team, but overall, I mean, the Nets just have too much consistent firepower. That's why I like the Heat over the Bucks, but this Nets team, I mean, deep as heck, folks. You got the big three of Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, obviously, but then you still got Joe Harrison, Bruce Brown, and Blake Griffin. I mean, it's just, and LaMarcus Aldridge, who's making a solid impact. I love how everybody was like, oh, LaMarcus Aldridge is old and washed up. He was still putting up like 11 and 8 for the Spurs when he was playing, and he's doing the same thing here with the Nets. So what are y'all talking about? He's getting it done. Good beef down low, get you the 10 plus points, get you basically close to that 10 plus rebounds like we want to see. So what's the problem there? They're deep, they've got shooters. Now the leadership is going to be the only thing that comes into question in this Nets team down the stretch, but just pure basketball ability on the floor, gotta go the Nets here over the Heat 4-1. And then that brings us into the most highly anticipated Eastern Conference Finals, I think, in a long time. 76ers and the Nets. A super team built in the Nets, or just kind of a great starting lineup of the 76ers team. How well is Joel Embiid going to destroy this team? I think at the end of the day, it's still going to be the Nets, folks. Kyrie Irving's winning games single-handedly when James Harden and Kevin Durant are out in the starting lineup. James Harden is winning consistently when Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are out in the starting lineup, and we haven't even seen Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving together collectively. So Kevin Durant's coming back tonight, I believe. I think this is his first game back, and he's got a solid third of the season to get that chemistry right to go into the playoffs. I think the chemistry of the Nets are going to be absolutely on point by this time of the Eastern Conference Finals here. So we're going to take the Nets 4-2 over the 76ers. Let's see how well Ben Simmons can do defensively on this team, and let's see how much of an impact Joel Embiid is going to be. But at the end of the day, this three-point shooting by the Nets should just be off the charts. And I don't think, Seth Curry, he's the fifth best option here for the 76ers, but we really don't see any real greatness from him on a given basis for the 76ers team. So really at the end of the day, the Nets are just a little bit deeper than the 76ers team, but it should be a great series. I think it goes 6. Nets get it in 4-2. So Nets come out of the Eastern Conference. So let's go to the Western Conference. Let's kind of reset here. Let's get the play-in tournament here for the Western Conference, and then we can start talking about who's going to come out on top here. So here we go. Mavericks, Grizzlies are the 7th, 8th seed. And that one's going to be tough, man. Mavericks have been kind of getting it done consistently here since the trade deadline. Really kind of the week before the trade deadline, they've really been getting it done solidly here. So Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, that's really their main focus over there. But the Grizzlies, they've been getting it truly done here. They just got above two games above 500 the other night, or actually last night. 7-3 in their last 10 here, as we see John Morant's getting it absolutely done. The entire lineup, Grayson Allen's kind of their 5th best option scoring the ball, and usually he gets it done. He's a decent defender out there, and he can decently get it done from the 3, kind of a Danny Green-esque player. Obviously, Grayson Allen's a little bit newer in this league, so obviously doesn't have the clout of Danny Green. But, obviously, Jonas Valanciunas is fantastic. They've got Desmond Bane coming off the bench. Brandon Clark, D'Anthony Melton. I mean, all those players have the ability to go for 10-plus points off the bench. So they got a decent bench out there. Dylan Brooks has really been consistent here. John Morant's obviously been consistent. So the Grizzlies overall have a pretty good roster, and they get it done kind of well defensively. I think the Mavericks rely too much on Luka Doncic. If you can lock him up, which is definitely obviously hard to do, but if you can lock him up, I really can't trust anybody too much on this Mavericks team outside of him and Porzingis. So I think I'm going to call the upset here, and the Grizzlies beat the Mavericks and take over the 7th seed here. So we're going to put the Grizzlies in at number 7. All right, and then we get the 8 and 9 matchup, Spurs and the Warriors, and I'm going to go the Warriors. So you got Steph Curry. That's really the only deciding factor here between the Spurs and Warriors team. The Spurs are lackluster. They got DeMar DeRozan, all righty, but, I mean, they're just super inconsistent. They play great defense one night, then they give up 120 points, but I only put up 90. They don't win consistently. They don't do anything consistently. Now, the Warriors, they just have the superstar of Steph Curry that can win you any game. We just saw it with the Bucks last night. Yeah, you know, Giannis, but still, at the end of the day, he still did enough to win the game. So we're going to choose the Warriors here beating the Spurs, and then it would be Mavericks and Warriors, and at that point, I think we choose the Mavericks here. I mean, at the end of the day, this Warriors team is like the definition of not deep. I mean, their bench is truly garbage. I mean, they've got no great consistency off the bench. James Wiseman as a big still can't make it work. They're still trying to decide between him and Kevon Looney. Both don't work. Kelly Oubre Jr. is decent. Andrew Wiggins is decent. Draymond Green is decent, but Steph Curry's the only one on a consistent basis dropping, 30-plus points. Kelly Oubre Jr. is a little hit and miss from the scoring department. Andrew Wiggins gives us a good, solid 15-plus points and solid defense, but at the end of the day, they don't have that bench that we can kind of rely on. Tim Hardaway Jr. for the Mavericks. I mean, he's a potential 6th Man of the Year candidate, in my opinion, folks. He can get it done. So we'll have the Mavericks going in at the 8th seed. Alrighty, now let's start talking about it. So we got the Jazz at the 1, Suns at 2, Clippers at 3, Nuggets at 4, Lakers at 5, Blazers at 6, Grizzlies at 7, Mavs at 8 in the West. So let's start here and start doing the matchups here. We get Jazz and the Mavericks round 1, and it's probably going to be a 4-1 gentleman sweep here. This Jazz team is just absolutely fantastic. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, that dynamic duo is amazing. Then you add Mike Conley and Joe Ingles coming off the bench. I mean, Mike Conley's absolutely fantastic, and just everybody on this Jazz team can get it done consistently, folks. Jordan Clarkson, 6th Man of the Year, also off the bench, giving you like 19 points a game. I mean, they're deep. They've got the great starting roster. Who am I missing? Oh yeah, Bojan Bogdanovic is truly getting it done as well. I mean, Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gobert. I mean, you got the defense of the forwards, you got the great playmaking ability by those guards, and Donovan Mitchell is all clutch as all heck out here, and Rudy Gobert is a very consistent, good big, just can't really guard the perimeter too well. But the Mavs, I mean, Porzingis, he's a decent 3-point shooter. It's not somebody that I'm going to kind of, worry about ruining the game on a nightly basis. So Jazz get the win here for 1. All right, then we get Lakers and Nuggets, and man, oh man, I love this Nuggets team, man. Yes, sir. Aaron Gordon, oh my God, they've won the trade deadline, folks. This is the one team since the trade deadline that has been the most consistent, and they brought in an all-star, and Aaron Gordon did not mess up the starting lineup. I mean, Michael Porter Jr. is still getting it done. Jamal Murray is getting it done. Jokic is still getting it done, and Aaron Gordon in that starting lineup is taking nothing away from their production. We're still getting monster performances by Michael Porter Jr. I thought Michael Porter Jr.'s production would come down with Aaron Gordon in the lineup, but it's not. He's still putting up 20-plus points a game, efficient as all heck from 3. Jokic is still getting, the 15 to 20-plus point games with the rebounds and assists, still spreading the floor from the 3. Jamal Murray is still facilitating the floor, getting it done in the points department, putting up 20-plus points a game. I mean, they're all getting it done. The only thing that the Nuggets lack is a little bit in their kind of depth of their roster. They have Paul Millsap coming down to the bench because Aaron Gordon took over the starting rotation, and then they got Monte Morris, who can get you kind of 10-plus points a game, but it's nothing truly consistent or something that should be relied on. This Nuggets team really relies on just winning outright by their starting roster because it's so freaking good. It's going to be tough, man. I hope the Lakers don't have to face the Nuggets first round because the Lakers do have the ability to win. I mean, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, what more do you need? But I'm going to go out on a limb here. What the Nuggets have shown us so far, I'm going to respect the heck out of it. We're going to call this one in 7 just because it's going to be super close. I'm really hoping the Nuggets don't have to face the Lakers. I'm hoping the Lakers kind of drop off a little bit. This Nuggets team is going to keep on winning here. Let's see where they can kind of end up on. Currently, the Nuggets are the first seed at 32 wins. They could easily move up to that third seed, passing the Clippers. I would not put it past them. And the Suns are only at 35 wins. So the Nuggets are only 3 games out from really kind of that 2 seed. So I'm all about this team big on the Nuggets. We're going to kind of go out, not even on a limb, because they're just fantastic. That starting lineup, if they can all stay healthy, I think they can challenge this Lakers team of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Jokic, Gordon down low, Michael Porter Jr. still a decent kind of beef at the 3 position. I think they could definitely challenge them. The Lakers may have a little bit of a better depth because they're going to have kind of Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench with Andre Drummond in the starting lineup. So the Lakers are going to have the better bench, but I'm going to count on this Nuggets team, this starting roster, to get it done. So Nuggets win 4-3-7 over the Lakers. All right, then we get the Clippers and the Blazers. Then we just saw this one last night, and it's truly unfortunate. I want this Blazers team to be good. They just can't rival the upper echelon teams, folks, and it is truly disappointing here. I love this Blazers team. Norman Powell is fitting in truly great here. Damian Lillard, unfortunately, did not step it up last night against the Clippers. That's kind of why they lost. They're decently deep. Derrick Jones Jr. now on the bench because they got it, Norman Powell. Nurkic is back, so, I mean, having 2 great bigs of Nurkic and Enes Kanter, but at the end of the day, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George just are a little bit more consistent here, at least in the regular season. We all know playoff P, obviously, and the Clippers blowing all those leads last year in the playoffs, but this Blazers team is just never ready to make that next step, and I buy them every single season, and they always do this to me. They don't beat the good teams, but I love Damian Lillard. He's super freaking clutch, but for some reason, they just can't put a good performance together in the playoffs, so they may be able to steal 1 from the Clippers, but we got to give it up for the Clippers here over the Blazers. Truly heartbreaking. All right, then we get the Grizzlies and the Suns, and I'm going to go the Suns here. Grizzlies may be able to steal 1 or 2 here. We'll give them 2. I'm going to give them 2, but at the end of the day, the Suns they've got a great starting roster, and they're kind of deep. They may be, they could challenge you for most complete roster here in the playoffs, honestly. So you get, obviously, the floor facilitator and Chris Paul. Devin Booker is going for like 25-plus points every single game, getting it done. DeAndre Ayton's a great big. Jay Crowder is getting it done at the 4 out there, hitting threes, being consistent. And then off the bench, you get, Dario Saric, Cameron Payne, Cameron Johnson, and all those players really give a great kind of ability of all putting up 10-plus points off the bench. So Grizzlies really don't have that great of a bench. They really match up decently well in the starting roster, but at the end of the day, I'm taking the clutchness. I'm taking Chris Paul, who, I mean, these last 2 seasons have just been playing his absolute, I would say his best basketball he's ever played is probably these last 2 seasons. Crazy. Single-handedly carrying that Thunder team last year into the playoffs, has the Suns here first season at number 2 here. In the West, rivaling the Jazz for that top seed, and the fact that just Chris Paul and Devin Booker are just working so well together, I absolutely love it. So we'll have the Suns beating the Grizzlies here 4-2. Alrighty, then we go to the Jazz and the Nuggets, and man, oh man, the Nuggets are the Jazz kryptonite, folks. I don't want to call the upset, but I think I'm going to Nuggets over the Jazz. Rudy Gobert has big problems guarding Jokic down low. He can't do it. We just saw it last year in the bubble. This game, the series went 7 last season, and I think it does the same this year as well. I mean, we saw Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray going at it every single game. Rudy Gobert kind of floundering sometimes. This Nuggets team got even better than what they were last year, where the Jazz are kind of exactly what they were last year. Nuggets got better, adding Aaron Gordon. They're still not very deep. That's still our one knock on them. The Jazz are deep. They still got Jordan Clarkson. I mean, 6th man of the year, like we said. But I'm going to give it up for the Nuggets here. I mean, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Jokic, and Aaron Gordon all get it done on a consistent basis, folks. I'm telling you, they play so well together. They're so unselfish. They don't care if one of the players scores 9 points and the other one scores 25 plus. They do not care about that. They care about winning, and they all work so well well together, like we were kind of seeing with the Magic of Vucevic and Aaron Gordon not really able to kind of work together. Jokic and Aaron Gordon with Michael Porter Jr., who's kind of another kind of bigger forward that can hit the three very well. They're still not taking away any production away from each other, so I absolutely love it. Jazz, we'll see what they can do, but like I said, this Nuggets team is exactly what the Jazz cannot kind of guard, the shooting great bigs. That's why they struggled last year. They're still struggling this year doing it as well. I'm going to call the upset here. Nuggets win 4-7 over the Jazz. And then we get the Clippers and Suns, and I'm going to go the Clippers here, probably in 7 again. Like, playoff P, Paul George, that is a definite concern. We've seen it time and time and time again. It's not a one-and-done fluke. The one-and-done fluke is the Clippers kind of blowing the leads. We just saw that last season, so we could still kind of, count that decently, but not as much as kind of Paul George in the playoffs. This Suns team, they're deep. They're ready to make the run. They've been consistent all season. This Clippers team may run into some kind of chemistry problems just because we've seen, the load management of Kawhi Leonard, obviously. Their bigs not being there. Serge Ibaka being out for a long time, scrambling around, just signing DeMarcus Cousins. So we'll see if he's still on the roster. Paul George, his playoff P, him also kind of being in and out of the starting lineup. Patrick Beverley, being in and out of the starting lineup, losing Lou Williams. How are they going to deal with that? So far, not too bad losing Lou Williams, but I'm going to give it up. I mean, the Suns team has just been so consistent, flying a lot under the radar, folks, truly all season. I think they're better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They're deep. They've got the bench. I'm telling you, they've truly got the bench. And Chris Paul, he's not going down without a fight. The man wants a ring, and nothing's going to stop him, not even the Clippers this season. I got the Suns beating the Clippers here. And then that brings us to the Nuggets and the Suns now. Who is going to come out of the West? Man, oh man, this is going to be a great one. Definitely probably going to go 7. But I just think just based off of the depth, I think at some point it's going to get a little bit too much for this Nuggets team. I can't rely on Monte Morris and Paul Millsap to get me consistent points off this bench. It's just unfortunate. The Nuggets are going to run into some games where it's just not falling for that starting lineup where, maybe Aaron Gordon and Jokic get it done, but Porter's floundering, Jamal Murray's floundering. It's really going to take all 4 of them on a nightly basis, all performing at their maximum potential for them to really come out of this West. So they really don't have that good of a bench. The Suns do, and that's going to be the sole kind of reason why we got the Suns coming out of the West here, winning 4-3 over the Nuggets. And then that brings us to the final, folks. Nets versus the Suns. Who's going to be able to win? Man, oh man. Nets-Suns finals. This Nets team is super deep, and they've got the All-Stars to back it up in the starting lineup. The Suns, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre, and Jay Crowder. But I think at the end of the day, the Nets, Kevin Durant's shown us that he can hit big-time shots in the finals. Kyrie Irving has shown us that he can hit big clutch shots in the finals. James Harden has never been to the finals, but I'm sure that he can be clutch there. So I think I'm going to give it up to the Nets here in 6 games, 4-2 over the Suns. I just think maybe the little bit of inexperience here in finals. Chris Paul's never been to a finals. Obviously, Devin Booker's never been. Obviously, DeAndre Jordan's never been. Has Jay Crowder been? Jay Crowder's been in this league a little bit. He may have been in the finals at some point. Let's see where he's at. Let's see. Dallas, was he with the Dallas squad early on in 2012? Where'd they finish here? Where'd they finish? When was that Cavs Mavericks final? Finished 4th in the NBA. Yeah, they didn't do anything in the playoffs. What do we get there? Why can I not find this quickly? All right, what did we say? 2013, 2012. They didn't even make it to the playoffs that year. Damn. The finals was 2010, 2011, so we just missed that one. All right. So Jay Crowder wasn't on that roster with the Mavericks finals. Alrighty. So he didn't get it there. Toronto 2014, back to Dallas. Not there. The Celtics in 2016. What do they do here? What do the Celtics do in 2017? What do they get here? They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. Alrighty. Utah. Alrighty. Pelican, or what is it? 2019? No. Memphis, Miami. Miami last season? He was with them last season. All right, yeah. Alrighty. So he had, final experience last season. Maybe that's just what he needed to kind of put him overboard. Jay Crowder's going to have to kind of be that finals leader. Him and Chris Paul are going to have to team up, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be enough. So we're going to have the Nets winning the NBA championship this season against the Suns 4-2.